I do whatever I want, whenever I want, I love it. People keep talking, I just keep winning, I'm just like fuck it. They talking reckless, I don't believe them, I think they bluffing. They just be talking, they just want clout, I'm just so poppin', I'm just like fuck it, yeah.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy SOUNDCLOUD, and welcome to the first roundtable discussion. This is going to be a podcast, so if you're chilling, you're relaxing, if you're heading back from work, if you're going to school, like I said, this is going to be a podcast. Now, this is going to be my very first one, all right? So I'm going to try to keep it short, keep it brief, but, you know, as we get into a groove of things, as I try to make sure I don't have too much dead air or dead time in between thoughts and everything else, we're going to try to keep this going. So like I said, this is going to be kind of like a trial run thing right now. So anyway, the roundtable discussions, we're going to talk about current games, upcoming games, and any other kind of news. So we're talking like sports, music, etc., whatever it may be. Now, like I said, this is going to be the first one. It's a trial run, and there will be future topics. And like I said, we're going to try to do this at least once a month. Can't guarantee we're gonna do it all the time, but at least once a month. I'm gonna try to timestamp everything in the description or in a comment, so you guys can kind of see the topics that we're talking about. But we're gonna touch over, at least in this episode, Black Ops 4, Red Dead 2, Pokemon, competitor of Pokemon, next gen consoles. We may talk a little bit of NBA here at the end. I'm not quite sure. And then a section that we're not going to have for this first episode, but I do want to have it for next episode, which are viewer questions. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So first thing I want to talk about is Black Ops 4. Now this has been out for, I would say, roughly a week. It hasn't even been a week at this time. When I'm recording this is Monday the 22nd, so it hasn't been quite a week yet. However, Black Ops 4, this game, well, take that back. What am I thinking? It hasn't been a week. Black Ops 4 is remarkable. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm a Call of Duty guy, because I'm really not. The most first-person shooter I've played before playing Black Ops 4 has been Overwatch. Before that, it's been a long time. The last Call of Duty I was really into, I would say, was Modern Warfare 2, and I had roommates in college that I was playing with, so it still wasn't even just me. Like, I had 4 or 5 people playing on my account, and that's what we would play a lot. We would just rotate, and we'd have amazing games playing with the M4 and the M16 and getting all the camos and prestiging, all that good stuff. So I haven't really played a Black Ops since then, at least a lot of Black Ops since then. Now, I have played Black Ops 2. I've played the original Black Ops score of Black Ops 2. I played Black Ops 3. I've played all the last couple battlefields. I've even played World War II. But something about Black Ops 4 is just refreshing. Now, I know they have a lot of nostalgia in the game, but it's not necessarily that, because the game still feels really, really new. It has like the old school feel to it, of course, because it's boots on the ground. You're not doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but still the equipment and the specialists was what makes the game still feel really, really new. And it's a lot faster. It's weird. So like, Call of Duty has always been, I can put a silencer, I can go solo, and I can just run through your team if I get behind you. This is not the case. It takes a little bit more to kill folks. However, it's more of a team shooter kind of deal. And I think it's kind of what they moved towards, is to make sure everything was a team shooter. Now, I say team shooter because you have 10 specialist classes. They're all unique and they're all OP as shit, my guy. Each class, like I said, Ajax has a shield that he pulls out with a pistol. One has a specialist dog he calls in. Nomad, you have Firebreaker that does the entire nuke system, to where he nukes nearby enemies and they can't heal afterwards. If you stay in the nuke too long, then you basically die of radiation. Like, each class has its own special unique talent, and they're all OP, but they're all balanced. You can't sit there and you see special abilities over and over and over again. They'll happen at least once a match, and that's what I really like about the game. So they keep it fresh with these specialist classes and really make that's like the unique thing about Call of Duty. But then, like every other Call of Duty, they have the things that aren't so unique. So for example, in World War II Call of Duty, even though it's 2 different developers here, just an example, they copied Overwatch and they copied Destiny. And that was the 2 big games they kind of, modeled their game after. This year, it was more so PUBG with their blackout mode. I'm not going to say Fortnite, because it's a lot more PUBG than it is Fortnite. And then they have their their CSGO mode, which is Heist. So those are the two games that they really copied this year. Heist is fun. It's kind of refreshing. There's different strats, different ways to play it. So it makes Call of Duty feel like a whole different game. Blackout still feels exactly like Call of Duty. It feels the exact same. It plays a little bit different, of course, but it still feels like Call of Duty. So that's nice as well. I know the heist mode, you can go down, you can get revived. That's what I said, that whole game mode feels completely different than the other type, or it feels different. It doesn't feel just like Call of Duty, even though it still plays like Call of Duty. It just feels different. So that's kind of wanted to cover. So of course the game doesn't have a single player. It does have like a specialist, kind of like introduction and like demo, like / level for each one. So I mean, it doesn't make up for a single player campaign. However, it does have storylines and everything else behind it. So there's that. They have their core and their hardcore modes, such as like team deathmatch, kill confirmed, domination, all that good jazz. And then they have zombies. And of course they have different levels of zombies. They have all the Easter eggs and everything else. Typical Call of Duty Black Ops zombies. One thing that I did like though that the game did as well, they actually have challenges across all three modes. So like your core, your zombies, and your Blackout. And they give unique skins for completing challenges on each one for the guns and everything else. So it really does feel good to, it gives you kind of a motivation to at least try all of them and unlock skins in all three modes and to play everything. So I do like that they implemented that into the game this year. Overall, I would say Black Ops, it's a solid game. It's a lot better than I would say most recent Call of Duty titles. I didn't mind Black Ops 3 too much, even though it still wasn't my favorite. But other than that, like I said, it really puts itself above. And if they continue to produce games like this, I think they can have a lot more fans come back to the game, and rather than just, the younger generation that's been playing COD as of recently. I still think that there's still ways to improve it. There are a few like technical glitches, like this is really stupid, and only Call of Duty can do this. If I join the party while you're in a game, so if you're in an Xbox Live party, I can't speak on PS4 because I'm playing on the Xbox, but if I'm in an Xbox Live party and somebody were to join it, it makes my entire game lag. When they leave the party, it makes my entire game lag. And it's only for a few seconds, like the screen flinches and then somebody leaves the party and the game goes back to normal. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but if I'm in the middle of shooting somebody and I just catch a patch of lag, then I automatically die and lose the score streak and everything else. So that's one. And speaking of that, they still have score streaks, which kind of still trigger me a little bit. I get 6 kills in a row and not even get a UAV, depending on the game mode that I'm playing. So I miss kill streaks more than score streaks, but I mean, it's whatever. Like I said, it's still a solid game. I would probably give it a 7 out of 10, maybe even an 8 out of 10. I'd still, if it had a single player campaign, I'd probably give it more. I haven't played zombies too much, so from just my experience now, I'm pretty much first prestige at this point. I'm not going to prestige. I'm not a prestige kind of guy, but I've hit max level, and I'm good with the game. Like I said, a solid 7 out of 10. That's really good, I think, for Call of Duty wise. I don't think Call of Duty's been over a 5 in a long time. So that, like I said, that's just my personal opinion coming from a guy that doesn't play Call of Duty too much. I have a hard time putting this one down. So it's actually really refreshing to have Black Ops. Now, moving on, I want to talk about now the next title that is going to be coming out here this upcoming Friday, which is the 26th. It's probably going to be a contender for Game of the Year. Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, if you weren't a big fan of the first game, do not worry, this game isn't going to be anything like the first game. Imagine Grand Theft Auto, but in the Wild West for Red Dead Redemption 2, but a lot more unnecessary detail. And what I mean by unnecessary detail is that you have to remember that Grand Theft Auto 5 was a last generation game. This game was made for the 360. So when they ported it over to the Xbox One, that's exactly what it was. It was a port. They didn't add anything on because they still had to play the game on the 360 for people that were still on that version. So this is Red Dead 2. on the next generation consoles. So when I say unnecessary detail, I'm just gonna kind of spit some things out. And my favorite thing that I think is unnecessary, but they did because that's the type of capabilities they have with this software, is the horse nuts. You heard me, horse nuts. When it's hot outside, the nuts like kind of expand, but when it's cold, when you and your horse are in the cold, the nuts shrivel up. Why do they put that in this game? Just cuz. Like that's how much detail they were able to put into this title. I'm so curious on how everything's gonna play out. Here's some other things. Like your revolver is completely like it. When you pull your revolver, it's hard to describe, but like you don't just pull your revolver out and just hit the right trigger to shoot. You have to be able to cock back the hammer. You can hold the hammer. Another button is to reload. Another button you can do like a fancy put away. Like your gun itself, your revolver, your 6-shooter is very, very technical in this game because they want it to feel special. Your dead eye levels up over time as to where not only first it slows down and then you can be able to paint more targets and you'll just be able to lock onto targets. So it's not just something immediate that's just OP. You're going back to the horse balls, the horse nuts here. Horses have permadeath. So of course, when you get a horse, you have to tame it. And then as you're playing with the horse, you have to make sure that, you know, the more you use it, the more it becomes unskittish when you're like in a gunfight. It doesn't get scared or run away. Same thing with animals attacking it and stuff like that. You train it to where when you call it, it comes towards you. Or if you need him to, you know, like I said, tough it out, he'll tough it out, stuff like that. But if the bond that you build with your horse, if he dies, you don't get that horse back. It's not like Grand Theft Auto where you call Morton's Mutual and ask him, hey, can you come, you know, revive my horse for me, my guy? No, it's gone. So they put a lot of detail into it. They want you to, I don't think you can own a stable full of 10 horses. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but people are saying you think you might be able to own 2 to 3 at a time. I know you're able to breed horses and get better breeds and stuff like that. But then you have to start the whole, like I said, the conditioning process over again and building that bond so the horse knows like, hey, this my dude, I'm riding with him to the end. You know what I'm saying? So, with the horses, of course, you get to customize the saddles, the blankets, the spurs, like everything about the horse you get to customize with it. I don't think you get to change what color its horseshoes are, of course, but like you get to, like, if you want to have a short mane, a long mane, if you want to braid its hair, you take care of the horse, like brushing it or whatever, kind of to build that bond, which will segment into my next useless detail. However, I still think it's pretty dope, is when I was talking about like brushing the hair and like the grooming, it's also your grooming as a character. If you don't keep yourself groomed, people will notice. Like if you stink, like if you ain't bathed in like 8-9 days, when you're walking through a town, people will be like, oh, what the fuck is that smell? And they'll realize it's you, and it's gonna be a lot harder to interact with people when you smell like ass, bruh. So you actually have to keep up with your hygiene. Same thing goes with your hair. If you don't cut your hair's just gonna get super long. Same thing with your beard. If you don't shave, it's gonna get super long. If you want to have like a big beard, you can't just have a big beard at the beginning of the game. You have to let your beard grow, and then you can trim it into whatever style. Same thing with your hair. Depending on how much you eat, depends on how big you are, or how little you eat, depends on how little you are. I think that's a great detail, and this isn't the first time they've actually done this. Anybody that's played or even heard of San Andreas, my man CJ used to smack them burgers, boy. And you could go work out and get them super muscular and, 0% body fat, or you can get them really thick and really strong, or you can get just really thick and no strength, or you can get them super skinny. Like, there was so many different ways for CJ to look depending on how you played the game. And I think that's pretty cool that they're bringing that back in this upcoming Red Dead. There's growing towns. So as you're playing through the game, you're going to different towns. They're always going to be developing and everything else. And depending on who you let live in towns, and certain things you do in towns is going to play a role in how that town develops. And then as well as like unique NPCs. So like say I go and I shoot Joe Schmo, right? I shoot Joe Schmo in a random encounter, and Joe Schmo's cousin, John Schmo, hears about it. John Schmo may come after me. And this isn't like a Skyrim thing to where, I heard somebody say this to me the other day, it's not like a Skyrim thing to where they say, hey, you killed my brother, and they're just coming after you. Like, they'll send people at your head. And then like if you were to interact with them, say, no, don't talk to me, I know what you did, and I'm coming to get you one day, because they're not just trying to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to try to come after you in different ways. people in a town, like say if you do kill somebody, but like you pay the bounty or you get away with it and somebody knows about it or they can't prove it, whispers around the town will go around and people will kind of fear you. Your reputation will follow you in this game from place to place and what you decide to do with it. Different rival gangs. I mean, like, so you can build your name up in a positive way. You could tear it down. Like, there's going to be so many different ways, so many different interactions with just each individual NPC in the game. Like, it's so much detail, stuff that they didn't have to do. If you decide to turn the mini map off in the game, I mean, this is another thing. You turn the mini map off, then the characters know that your mini map is off and they'll give you directions to wherever you need to go because they know you're not looking down. So like you could be walking through a town, you have the mini map on, you're going to the bank, and you know you're looking through the mini map, you know how to get to the bank. If you have the mini map off and they know you're trying to get to the bank, they'll be like, hey, the bank is 2 blocks down, or you know, go around the corner and there's the 3rd door on the left. Like the game knows you're not able to easily see it anymore. When I say unnecessary details, man, they really do like knock that in. Now I should be having gameplay playing during all this. Like the different trailer stuff, they might be on repeat depending on how long I'm talking about it or whatever, but regardless, like I said, we're having all that in here. And then last, I'm trying to think, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about with Red Dead that I thought was really cool, and I don't remember what it is. It was another detail. Of course, now I don't know if you know this, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. This game has no loading screens. This game is, once it's up, it's up. Like that's it. Like, and like every cinematic is like in the middle of gameplay. So like if I look across the thing and I dome shot somebody, it's gonna automatically turn to a cinematic. And not like a cinematic headshot and keep on going what you're doing necessarily, but like I domed him and now we're in a cinematic scene where, like, say I domed the guy and he was in a fight with somebody else, now the guy's talking to me, now we're in a cinematic. Each cinematic you still can move in. So like if I sit down in my gang at night and we're talking over the campfire and they want to tell me a story, then I'm able to sit down and still interact. I can make some food while they're talking to me. I'm getting like the mission from them. I'm not just locked in staring at their face and they're talking to me back and forth. Another detailed thing that they did, because this reminded me once I started talking about that, is that come on, what was I gonna say? This is what I'm talking about, downtime. I want to make sure I don't have too much downtime, and this is kind of where I have to make better notes before I start talking. Another thing that they did too was with your weapons. Now there's going to be a weapon wheel, but you're not going to be able to carry as many weapons. Think about Grand Theft Auto 5. If I were to go over to the pistols, I can carry 8 different pistols and just pull them out of thin air. In this game, whatever you have on your body, like whatever you're carrying on your body, is all that you're able to have. So I could probably hold like 2 pistols and maybe a rifle on my back. I can't have 3 different rifles and a bow and arrow and 6 different pistols. All, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever I can carry on my body is what I have. Anything else that I want to carry weapon wise, I can maybe put on my horse. But other than that, I can't just have a plethora of things I just pull out of nowhere. They're making it a little bit more realistic. Same thing goes with the guns. Like your guns can actually deteriorate, and by deteriorate, they won't necessarily break. They just won't handle as well. So after a lot of use, if you don't clean your gun, it may misfire or it may jam. If you're like in the water and your gun's on your holster, then it's gonna have all that water damage in it, and it may start to mess up that way with the jamming and the misfiring because it's been wet and hasn't been cleaned yet. So you have to take care of your guns. Now, like I said, with that earlier detail, like at first it sounds bad, and I've watched some videos, people have talked where they've had their hands on, they played 3 or 4 hours of the game, they were invited to play 3 or 4 hours, and they said they didn't have to clean their guns once. So it's not like it's a super important detail that like, oh, I have to clean my guns every 10 uses if I'm in the water. No, they played 4 hours and didn't feel like they had to clean their guns, but they still did it anyway. And they were able to do that in a cutscene at a campfire with the gang. So nothing's going to like, oh crap, I can't do this mission because I have to clean my guns, and then I'm in this whole cutscene and I'm waiting after the cutscene. After the cutscene, I go clean my guns. I'm like, you can compress all that down. It's just so many great details in this game, and I'm gonna talk about one more detail and I'm gonna move on to the next point, because I could talk Red Dead a lot, and I'm gonna be streaming that. Shameless plug, I'm gonna be streaming Red Dead a lot. We're gonna start streaming it on Friday when it drops. We're gonna start at night, and we're probably I'm not gonna be able to pull an all-nighter, but I mean, damn it, I'm not going to sleep for a long time on Friday when it drops. We're gonna be playing a lot of it. Last detail I want to talk about Red Dead. is the hunting aspect of it. There's over 200 unique animals in their ecosystem. It's a living ecosystem. They all have different habits. They don't have like a cycle that they run on. Depending on what's happening around them, depends on how they react. If you shoot a deer and you don't kill it, it's going to bleed out. And they said if you're a pet lover, an animal lover, and you can't stand the sight of like somebody shooting a deer, they said you do not want to hunt in this game because it's very realistic as far as like bleeding out and crying and everything else. If you shoot an animal too much and you want to sell its pelt, and you shoot it way too much, then you'll damage the pelt and you can't use it anymore. Wolves will hunt you in packs, of course, but they'll play with you. Like if they get you surrounded, they'll kind of toy with their food a little bit, meaning they'll toy with you and they'll attack from different angles, but then they won't just go in for the kill. Like they'll nip at you and want to run away, stuff like that. There's crocodiles, there's bears, and they all act like differently. Like a cougar will come out and jump you. I don't know if you ever saw cougars in Red Dead, but they were vicious. Like they just came out of nowhere. Like it was rough. But cougars will come out of nowhere and just attack you. Bears, they'll stand up and they'll do their little thing, but they may not charge you depending on if they're hungry or not. You don't know if they're hungry, but if you were stalking it and you were watching it, you know if it ate something or not. But if a bear's hungry, then he might come at you. Crocodiles are just territorial, so they're not necessarily going to attack you, but if you're in their area, they may come at you. So like all the animals work differently. Like I said, 200 different species, and that's like the last thing I wanted to talk about there, because like I said, there's other stuff we can go over, but Red Dead, possible game of the year. It really could be. I'm really surprised at it, and I really think it's going to be something else. All right, so now what I want to talk about is Pokemon. You know I'm a Nintendo head. You know I love me some Nintendo. You've seen plenty like Pokemon stuff on the channel and everything else. But there's a couple of things I want to talk about. First, I want to talk about what came out probably a couple days ago. Masuda talking about the post game, and like the post game that probably got posted like 4 days ago. And I just want to give a little thoughts on it. Now, if you didn't see it, basically what's going to happen in the post game is that there's going to be 151 master trainers. Each one is going to have each trainer has a different Pokemon, of course, one Pokemon for each, Pokemon in the Pokedex. And whoever that master trainer is, so like say they're a master trainer Pidgeot, you have to battle them, and if you beat them, then you get that title of master trainer Pidgeot. Now, as far as, and that's all you get, is just the title. Now, I think this is a really good idea, and I think some people are disappointed at it, but I do think that it's kind of innovative, and if it's something that they add to the next gen, like there's certain things that they're going to do in Let's Go that I'm just playing Let's Go. Let me kind of rewind here, and kind of before I really touch on this, I just kind of want to describe Let's Go for anybody that's not like fully aware or may not understand it completely. Let's Go is a cash grab / introductory game that they are making for Pokemon Let's Go or Pokemon Go players to get them into the core series. That is what this game is. Now, I know on their website and stuff they talk about veteran players will find something in it too. That's just because they know they will enjoy it, but it's not like it's not meant necessarily for veterans. It's not meant for teenagers. It's not meant for adults. It's meant for kids, okay? And this game is meant for people that play Pokemon Go, and they're trying to get them into the core series. That's why they have Pokemon Let's Go. That's what this is. It is a cash grab. This game is just supposed to play on the nostalgia factor and get new players in. And they said the game that you want, and they said this before they even announced Let's Go. They said, we're working on the core RPG game for 2019. They already told us. It's the next generation. All right. That's what they told us, and they're giving this game in between. A lot of people complain about this game, and I don't get it. If you don't want to play it, don't sit there and bash it talking about I don't like the direction Pokemon's going in, because it's not the direction. This is a cash grab. If you don't want to throw your cash at it, then don't do it. But don't talk about how weak Pokemon is, because this game is not meant to be the next main game. Like, it really, like, I read so many comments, people like, well, this game is going to suck because it have X, Y, and Z. And like, if you think about it, it's exactly what Pokemon Yellow was way back in the day, except for just newer graphics. Like, that's what it is. And they changed up some things, and they gave us some new things. And like I don't understand like all the hearsay. Like, I read a comment on a video of this guy. He got a hands-on demo of the game, and I read a comment where this guy was talking about they should just remove all grass because grass is pointless in Pokemon now. And people were commenting like, what do you mean? It's grass. They're like, well, you can see the Pokemon, so they should just come from the trees and behind rocks and stuff. But they're wasting so much resources on this grass. It looks really nice. And I commented like, it's grass, my guy. Whether you see the Pokemon or not, like, grass has always been a key factor in the Pokemon games. Like, just because you can see them walking around, it doesn't make it any different. Well, those resources could have been used in other places. First of all, how do you know? Have you played the game yet? You don't know if they could have been used in other places. Number two, it's grass, my guy. It's called aesthetics. Like, so when you walk into Professor Oak's lab, do you not want him to have books on his bookcase? Do you not even want bookcases? Should just be a room with him in it because they could have used those resources somewhere else? Why are there birds why are there Pokemon flying around in the overworld? They could use those resources somewhere else. Why does the wind blow? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So people will find anything to complain about this game. But remember, again, this is a cash grab. It's like an introductory game. That's what it's for. Now, after getting all that off my chest, I think the implementation of the mastery trainers are actually a good thing. It's not a proper post game. Don't get me wrong, not at all. I don't think Let's Go is going to last for about 6 months. I really don't think so. There's not going to be enough to keep me playing it for a year. But saying that, I still think that's a positive direction, because if they were to implement the mastery trainers into the next generation, I wouldn't mind that. And the reason why I'm saying this is because think about it as in a Pokemon game, typically what they want you to do is to battle, beat the gym leaders, beat the Elite Four, become champion, and then you do what the game says. Gotta catch them all. Then you go to complete the Pokedex. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy right now. Give me just a second. All right, sorry about that. So anyway, like I said, you're going to go catch them all. Now, normally in the post game, what you do is you start going to certain sections of certain maps, running in certain areas, waiting for that small percentage for that Pokemon to pop up. At this point, it's not a challenge to really necessarily catch them. The whole challenge is just encountering them. You're going to run into them with a Mon you probably view from Elite Four, or another Mon that you might have like Spore on, or Thunder Wave, whatever, Full Swipe. And you're just going to go and you're going to weaken that Pokemon and you're going to catch it. Gets thrown in the box. That's what happens. So now you're telling me the unique spin on is not only do you want me to go catch them, but now I go battle that trainer that has that Pokemon. Hold on. So, sorry again. So basically what happens is the new challenge, the post-game challenge, is not only catch them all, but then to battle all of them as well and then gain that title. Now, you're not gonna have 151 battles. Now, all these battles, if you didn't see, they're 1v1. You're not gonna battle all 151. There's a Master Pidgey trainer. You may not fight the Master Pidgey. You might fight the Pidgeotto and the Pidgeot, but the Pidgey might give you like an objective to go do, like go catch 30 Pidgeys or something along those lines, to maybe get you ready for the higher evolutions. I'm not sure. That's just me guessing, because they said you're not going to fight all 151. But think about it, there's going to be a Master Moltres and a Master Articuno. Something else unique about these two is that these Pokemon are going to have moves that they normally don't learn. So the battles are going to be a little bit more unique that way as well. So I understand how they try to change a little bit. I'm not sure if they're going to give it a proper post game or not, but I'm okay with that small change. Does it make it a proper post game? No. Is it still a cash grab? Yes. Does it interest me as a veteran Pokemon player? No. Am I still going to buy the game anyway? You goddamn right. Okay, so let's go on. What I want to really touch into, which I had no idea about. I saw a tweet about it, and then after I saw the tweet, I went and looked it up, and you should be seeing it on your screen right now. Fun fact, I watched a video just for a little bit, how this guy was complaining about Pokemon fan games, and he was complaining on it from a legal standpoint, at least up Nintendo, and defending them, which I understood. But the reason why I think there's so many people still playing Pokemon is because of the great fan games. And in his video, he was arguing, instead of people making fan games, why don't they just make a knockoff of it? And it's just like, well, people do have that. They have fake mons, but it's still pretty much a core Pokemon game. But he said, why don't these people use their unique talents and make, their own game that's similar? And I had no idea this was a thing. It's on Kickstarter. I think they raised over $400,000. But it's called Tim. And if you're looking at this gameplay, you're probably like, this shit is dope. And that's because it is. It's a MMO where you capture monsters. There's breeding, there's capturing, there's battling, there's interactions with other players that are live. You can fight with other players, other NPCs. I mean, it looks amazing. They've been backed, and I think it's gonna come out on all consoles. Now, I'm not quite sure. I will try to leave a link to their Kickstarter in the description. Now, like I said, I'm not sure of everything that this has to offer, but I do know one thing, is that if you're looking at this is amazing. Hopefully this comes out. And as a Pokemon fan, I'm actually really excited for this game. Not because it's necessarily it's not gonna call it a spin-off or a knockoff or whatever. I'm just gonna say I'm excited for this game because it's gonna be a direct competitor. Listen, Pokemon's had no competition. There's nobody that makes a game that Pokemon has to worry about. They just shut down fan games because they are using their likeness, which is completely understandable. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have any competition, and now they're going to get competition. So maybe Pokemon will get their head out their ass and give us something more substantial. They won't give us any BS games like Sun and Moon again, when it was just basically a demo. Sun and Moon was a demo for Ultra Sun and Moon. By the time we got Ultra Sun and Moon, we didn't want to play it anymore. Like, we already understood what happened, and they just gave us a little bit of updates, and they made the game feel a little bit more full. Other than that, like I said, it was stupid. So hopefully this stops Pokemon from doing stuff like that. Maybe a game like Temtem, if it catches and it's a wave, maybe it's going to stop Pokemon from doing stuff like Pokemon Let's Go. They're like, hey, listen guys, we got to put out a proper game here. We got to put out difficulty levels. We got to put out an MMO. Like, this is going to force Pokemon's hand so much. Just look at it. I mean, you get to customize the crib, you know what I'm saying? The mons are beautiful. The animations are nice. The art style is dope. Again, it's an MMO. I mean, it's going to be really, really good. And I think it's going to be a really good, like I said, a competitor to Pokemon if it catches on. It looks like it's doing everything right. You won't really know until after the game, but it looks like it's doing everything right. So I'm gonna have more information when more information drops for that. I'm actually gonna watch this a little bit closer now that I learned about it. I might talk about it in the next video if I learn more details about it, kind of what's similar, and then maybe some unique things about it. There's still a lot I have to discover. When I say I saw the tweet, this was probably 2 days ago. I saw the tweet and I just saw the trailer. I haven't really dove too far into it. I know most of the news for Temtem dropped maybe about 4 months ago. So I'm kind of late to the party, but still, it's never too late when you see something like this on the screen. So that's going to be really interesting. Moving on to the next topic. That's all I kind of want to talk about as far as Pokemon and everything else. Of course, we'll be playing Let's Go. I don't really play Pokemon Go, so I'm not worried about that, but I'm going to try to do some, I know I said I was going to stop talking about it, but I'm going to try to do some unique things with it. I may do like a tag team lock, or like a buddy lock, where I play the entire game with 2 Pokemon at the same time, since you can use 2 different controllers and have it 2-player. I may try to Nuzlocke it somehow, some way. I may try to do like a drinking game with it and live stream it. So I'll figure all that out. We're about a month away from the game, so we'll see how that goes. So anyway, what I want to talk to you next about next gen consoles. And this isn't going to be too much or too long, but PlayStation has started hiring. Sony started hiring for the development of their PlayStation 5. And I want to go ahead and say this because I just want to kind of give this like an insight here. Maybe people haven't realized it yet. When we got this current generation, like how it happens usually, you have Xbox and PlayStation drop their game consoles around the same time, and then Nintendo comes bringing up the rear, but they have the most potential with their unique system, but yet they're always a year behind when it comes to specs. So you had your Xbox One, your PS4, and then you had the Switch that just dropped, it's been 2 years now, maybe. They had the games. Don't get me wrong, they have the games. It's just like I said, they don't really have the specs behind it. It's just 1080p, maybe most of the time it's 720. But it is handheld. It's whatever. Their games look great. Ports do not. It is what it is. PS4 and Xbox One, if you don't remember the early launch, they both were shit. They both were shite. There were no exclusives. Xbox had Dead Rising, which was cool, fine. I think there was Titanfall. PlayStation really didn't have an exclusive when it dropped. Like, they were just whatever exclusives, you know what I'm saying? They weren't anything too crazy, too unique. It took a while, and I think PlayStation had the first unique, like, like I said, I should have done my research. I think they had their first exclusive drop, but we're talking about years after the game dropped. Like, a significant exclusive came out that everybody was like, oh. And now we're getting to the nitty gritty of exclusives. Like, PlayStation is dropping hit after hit. I'm talking about God of War and Spider-Man. The Days Gone's coming up. Then you have the Last of Us 2. Like, they're dropping all these games. Xbox, of course, dumbasses, they can't figure out exclusives. They had Halo 5 and Gears and Tomb Raider and Forza, and like, those aren't games people really rave that much about. You have your loyal fan base, don't get me wrong. I'm a big Gears fan, but you don't have games that people are gonna rave about. They're not coming out with single player campaigns that are selling like crazy, but they think multiplayer is the only way to go. Regardless, it took years for us to get to this point. Xbox and PlayStation aren't 2-3 years old like the Switch are. The Switch has plenty of exclusives coming out, and they're dropping 3 to 4 exclusives a year, it seems like. But yeah, that's the issue, is that they're talking about a PlayStation 5, and in my eyes, you're just getting started with your PlayStation 4, my guy. Like, you haven't, like, you've had exclusives, but you haven't had them the full cycle. Like, keep having people develop, and if you're telling me that people are running out of ideas, then there's no reason for me to go out if you drop a PlayStation 5 next year for me to want to go get it, or even if it's 2 years from now. There's not a reason, because I don't feel like there's going to be a game for it. There's not many franchises I feel like that have run out of ideas with current gen consoles. The only people I could think about, which they've mentioned before, is Bethesda. They said they're struggling, and their next Skyrim game they can't do on current gens. That's what they made it seem like. So I guess I don't know what the plan is, like, for a new console for PlayStation. But like I kind of want to touch on this. Like I said before, PlayStation and Xbox came around at the same time in this current gen. Of course, Switch was just a couple years ago. Now PlayStation 5 is trying to develop. I'll argue, I would assume that the PlayStation 5 is going to be lumped in the same thing as the Xbox X. Like, Xbox has already done that. The Xbox X is going to be able to run a lot of things. PS4 Pro. Now, I have a PS4 Pro and I have an Xbox X. PS4 Pro is shite compared to the Xbox X. My PS4 Pro is going to blow up every time I turn it on. It's loud and it's obnoxious. But the Xbox, it's a lot smoother, it's a lot sleeker design and everything else. So they did a really good job with it. I don't know what their next step up is going to be. I don't even because I hope if it's 4K gaming, which these two consoles are supposed to do, I'm not sure exactly how much more they're going to be able to jam pack into a console. It's just going to depend on processes and everything as they come out. But it's not, like I'm saying, like, I don't see much room for improvement, definitely if you're not going to have the games to go with it. Like, the Xbox X, the reason why I have it is because I want to bet. I didn't buy it. It was actually bought for me. There's no way I would have bought the X. Why? Because there's no reason to have it. I have a 4K TV, don't get me wrong, but like, the games are still the same. So on PS5, if I'm just playing PlayStation 4 games, what's the point? Or you give me PlayStation 5 and you give me one exclusive game for it, and then everything else is still dropping on all other consoles. Like, what's going to be the point of it? So in my eyes, PlayStation 5 is going to be with the Xbox X, because the Pro came out before, then the X came out afterwards, and I feel like X is more so along the next generation console, even though it's still a part of the Xbox family. Same way with the Switch. The Switch, they're supposed to come out with a beefier Switch, but like, in my eyes, I could see that working, but then it kind of shits on everybody that already bought the old Switch. Like, if it's like when they come out with new 3DSs, like when they came out with the new 3DS, the reason why I call it the new 3DS is because it ran a lot better than what the old 3DS did. So if the new Switch is going to do that, then what happens to all the old Switch? You're going to make me upgrade, and then that's all going to be fuzzy, but that's still going to be considered the old generation. So I'm hoping that Nintendo, when it's the quote unquote new generation starts, the next generation, that they can kind of jump on that wave instead of waiting till after it's all done and then coming out with something that was a part of the next gen. Like, I don't want to see the Switch come out 3 years after the PS5 and the new Xbox, and it's only playing in 1080p. like they have handheld 1080p. I need you guys to be able to run some games in 4K. It doesn't have to be every single game, but I need you guys to have the capability. 60 frames per second. I need you guys to have that capability. So, and it doesn't have to be handheld, of course, but like I said, we need to see them kind of step in their game up here and keeping up. So, enough about the consoles. Really, that's gonna do it for us. This would be like the part of the podcast right here, where I may go into some like big sporting news and something like that. I'm not gonna talk too much about sports. You could always talk about sports. That could be a whole different podcast. But anything major that happens, like the only thing that I can think of, like the NBA season just started. Like the Lakers got into the fight with the Rockets. Rondo hit Chris Paul across the face with a left jab. It was a strong left jab, looked like a young Floyd Money Mayweather out there. Other than that, like there's not really much to talk about. Like I'll cover major things, major happenings. But other than that, this would be the part of the podcast where we would take on any viewer submitted questions. And feel free in this video to drop any questions you may have. You can ask me anything you want. I'll answer some personal questions, not a lot, but I will answer. I'm not gonna say an AMA, of course, but ask me whatever. And like I said, going forward, hopefully you guys leave some great questions down below, my thoughts on certain things, or if I saw something, and I'll make sure I do a little bit more research into some more of these topics. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to fill it out. I am surprised at the length of this already. I will tell you that. I didn't think I was going to get going too much into it. But maybe one day we'll have the webcam turned on. We'll keep it, varied from podcast to podcast, so it's not just the same thing. I'll try to get some other people in here, so it's not just my thoughts. Maybe I can get more conversation from bouncing back and forth off of other people. But be sure, like I said, to leave your comments down below with maybe some things you may want me to discuss, some questions you may have just about me or anything else. And like I said, we're going to be moving forward here. And then that's really it. So this is going to go up it should be on the Thursday. So tomorrow is when you're going to see me live on Twitch. Link will be in the description. I'm going to start putting those links up when I go live on the YouTube channel. I'm going to start putting those links up, so we'll have those. But yes, we're going to be live. We're going to be playing Red Dead. It's going to be great. Make sure you come through. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Until next time, though, I'm out of here.